Hi, I'm Dr. Pamela Morris. I'm here at the Women's Wellness Masterclass in California, and I'm delighted to be joined by Dr. Michelle Chestovich, who is a family physician in St. Paul, Minnesota, and a certified life coach. We were conducting a seminar yesterday with a discussion of resiliency and professional growth development. And we'll just go over some recaps of our discussion yesterday. First of all, Michelle, I was wondering if you could define for us, what is resiliency?
Well, I have to say that, number one, resiliency can be a triggering word, but resiliency, the definition is our ability to bounce back. And I have the belief that we as physicians are quite innately resilient. The fact that we've gone through all of our training, medical school, we get into medical school, we go through medical school, residency, fellowship, and then are practicing in the world of medicine, that is resiliency. Plus, many of us have many other things on our plate if you're a parent or a caregiver for anybody else. So I think that we're innately resilient, and I think with the troubles in the medical system, sometimes we find it offensive when we're told, hey, we could solve these problems of overwork if you could just be more resilient. So that's just the caveat that I don't think that we need more resiliency, but to understand that we have it innately, but sometimes it gets pushed down in this very difficult world of medicine and all of the demands. Sometimes we feel less than resilient, and two, we start to suffer from consequences of burnout, which again is not an individual problem, it's more a systemic problem. And we think that we're being maybe told that we need to be stronger, and I think that's not the case. And yet there are things that we can learn that allow us to navigate this challenging world of medicine more simply and easily and feeling much more confident.
It's interesting when you talk about resiliency. I just got an email this week to remind me that I had to do my mandatory 1-hour training on burnout for the year, which is the token effort at managing clinician burnout. So tell us a little bit about what motivated you to become involved and certified as a life coach.
Yeah, I guess I could share. They always say, start with sharing your burnout stories. And I always say, well, which one? Practicing medicine for 20 years, having 4 children, trying to balance doing an amazing job as a physician, helping babies be born, taking care of these families, and oh, by the way, I've got all these things going at home. It often feels like balls are starting to drop. So I've tried all the things over the year that we as physicians tell our patients, by the way, make sure you're getting adequate sleep, make sure that you're exercising and eating a healthy, nutritious diet. Ironically, I would see that many of my colleagues were not doing this. And it's just sort of like the basic tenet of being a human is to take good care of ourselves so we can better share our ability to help others. And so it's just always been very important to me because I know that I've struggled and I see my colleagues struggle. And I've tried all the things, more sleep, more exercise. It was finally getting a coach 5 years ago that helped me feel more confident, realize I am really not the problem, and there are some things that I can do to help myself feel better. And it just, after about a week of having a coach, I said to my husband, I need to become a coach. My colleagues in medicine do not know this. I need to yell it from the rooftops that it doesn't need to be so hard. And so that was sort of began my journey. And again, I think it blends really well with my work as a primary care doctor and really believing in prevention. Yes, there are diseases that we need to have amazing cardiologists be able to tackle, but there are things that I as a primary care doc can do to help hopefully prevent them from going down the road. So too in medicine, burnout happens, and yet I think the latest statistic is 63% of docs have, at least one component of burnout. And there are things that we can do to make that better, and coaching helps with that. So I'm very passionate about helping solve this big problem in medicine, and coaching is an evidence-based solution for burnout. I think I mentioned yesterday on the panel, I've been on a lot of wellness committees over the years, and they talk about, well, should we do, more teaching? Should we have a yoga class? Should we, have pizza parties, have more delicious food in the doctor's lounge? And while those things, sure, we love that stuff, and yoga is great, it doesn't solve the problem. And coaching has been proven to be an evidence-based solution, so I'm quite passionate about it. And even more so, unfortunately, my family suffered tragedy 3 years ago. I lost my youngest sister, Dr. Gretchen Butler, to suicide. She was a young radiologist at a level 1 trauma center, top of her field, getting all the awards, had 3 beautiful children, and yet obviously things were not going well in her brain. And it amplified for me that even in this family where there's such support and such love, there's such a stigma against mental health issues that people are afraid to reach out. And one other thing that unfortunate tragedy amplified for me is that we lose, nearly 300 to 400 physicians a year to suicide. And I think many people don't know that. So that just amplified my desire to help other physicians who are struggling. We're taking excellent care of everyone else, and we often forget to take care of ourselves. And I just am here to say, no more. We have to.
Well, I thank you for sharing that. And there's no question that Gretchen's story really touched the medical community, and I think has helped to awaken us to the importance of burnout. Going back to the concept of life coaching, how does one know when they need a coach? And how do they identify the right coach? How do you know when you need to reach out?
Yeah. Well, again, as a person who believes in prevention, I believe everybody should have a coach. Why wouldn't we do things to help prevent problems? If you're feeling pretty good in life, great. Let's continue that way and amplify things, because life can be hard. Things come up. Maybe there's a difficult patient outcome. Maybe there's stress at home that affects you at work. Life has challenges. And so I personally believe in get started before if you think there's a problem. That being said, a coach can help pull you out if, for example, you're struggling with burnout or feeling there's this whole terminology of imposter syndrome. We know it's not truly a syndrome, but this feeling of being a fraud. I see that in a lot of particularly young physicians, but I work with some chairs of departments who are I don't really know. What if people find out that I'm not as good as I think, which I think is amazing and fascinating. So I believe that it can help along any part of your journey. It is my mission, again, to even get it in medical schools, residencies, to learn strategies, to deal with our high-achieving brains that really make us aim for perfection at all levels. And when we don't achieve that, we make a big story about it, that we're not good enough. Yesterday, a physician stood up, it was beautiful, and he said, you have to aim for 90%, and yet you tell someone who's getting 100s all the time that they're gonna aim for 90%, that's a huge bridge to overcome, and a coach can help with that. So I think that anywhere, whether you think you're doing great or you think you're struggling, I think a coach can help. But most people, I think they're thinking, this seems a little harder. I'm not enjoying it as much as I want, or I feel like I have way too much going on. That is a perfect time, definitely, to have a coach. And as far as where to find it, I'd say start with your organization. Some organizations have coaching available. I think that those organizations should be applauded and say, hey, you're following evidence-based studies that show that this is beneficial, and to, talk to your friends. I think we need to normalize talking about this sort of thing. We talk about where we go when we've got back pain. Who's your favorite physical therapist or sports doc? I think we need to talk about this as well. So talking to your colleagues, talking to your organization, and good old Google. If you just type in physician coach, I know hundreds. They have all kinds of things available.
What does it take to become a certified life coach?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So number one, the life coaching industry is unregulated. So very different from becoming a physician, right? You could hang a shingle today saying, I'm a life coach. Yet, as a physician, I like to follow a protocol and learn all the things. I want to do a really good job. Even though I had learned strategies through coaching, I wanted to learn more and become very good at what I was doing, which again, I think is sort of that physician mindset. So there are lots of different avenues. If you want to become a certified life coach, there are probably hundreds of things that you could do. I went through something called the Life Coach School, and it was a 6-month program, and became certified, right? And so through learning and education and doing practice coaching sessions that mentors would evaluate, and that's how I did it. And I loved it because I had gotten results from this coaching program, and I had seen many others, and a lot of physicians have done that. Mm-hmm. Some people go through the Martha Beck Wayfinder. Some people go through other ICF certified programs, and there's really not a right way to do it. Mm-hmm. Again, it is unregulated industry, but there was a group that came together and said, well, we should regulate it, but it's sort of still, you don't have to be, I believe it's called ICF certified. Some hospitals want you to do that, but for me, it's sort of just one more hoop to have to jump through, sort of like insurance. Like you need to meet certain criteria, but at any rate, there are lots of different ways that people can become coaches. And when I first became a coach, I probably knew a dozen other coaches. This was 4 years ago, and now I know about hundreds of other physician coaches. So there are a lot out there.
Well, this has really been a terrific discussion. I think it's obvious to everyone watching that the panel yesterday was really highly impactful. And thank you so much for sharing your story and your expertise. So with that, we hope you'll all have a wonderful day, and thanks for joining us.